What is the difference between Hyrox Open and Hyrox Pro? Should you try a pro race or should you try to do a faster open race? Hey, what is happening, people? I'm Woodsy and this is my channel, Woodsy Workout, where I give out coaching and tips on all things Hyrox and hybrid fitness. I've done videos on technique, training methods and race strategy, so if that's what you're looking for, then subscribe to stay up to date. Today we're going to be discussing the differences between the Hyrox divisions, mainly the Open and the Pro differences. I'll give you some stats and facts and then my experience and my opinion. Before we get into it, I just want to say thank you so much for your support, both online and in person. This last weekend I got a lot of nice messages from people that raced, and it really means a lot to me. Well done if you did race, and it was a good weekend and a nice reminder of why I coach and why I should keep making videos like these. So thank you very much. Now let's talk divisions. Firstly, Hyrox themselves describes the divisions like so. The Open take on the standard Hyrox for a challenging but achievable race for everyone. The Pro, for the experienced racer, heavier weights make for a challenging experience. So, to be clear, the only differences between the Pro and the Open is the weight on 5 of the 8 stations. So the sled push, pull, farmers, lunges and wall balls, they are all heavier. All of the distances stay the same, apart from the Women's Open, which is 75 wall balls instead of the 100 wall balls. You don't need to qualify for the Open or Pro divisions. You can do both and you can flip between the divisions as you please. And there has been a bit of kind of controversy on that subject in if the Open division should have a cap, or if you should, once you get past a certain time, you can't race in the Open division, or maybe the Pro division should have a qualification time. Recently we had Alex Ronkovic, who's an elite athlete, set the Open record in 50 minutes 38 seconds, and it caused a bit of a stir, but I think that was kind of mainly out of confusion because the way Hyrox pitches it on the site is that the Pro is more challenging and the Open is the kind of beginner version. In my personal opinion, I think any athlete should be allowed to race in any division, and mainly because they are different races, and the weights mean that different athletes will excel in them. I kind of look at it like the difference between a half marathon and a marathon. To a beginner, the marathon is harder than the half marathon purely because it's longer, and so the Pro will be harder purely because you're doing the same thing with heavier weights. However, when you start to get competitive, you can argue that one is not harder than the other, they just require different demands. Like, I don't think anyone would argue that the person that wins the half marathon is a beginner because they only did half of the marathon. I certainly found this to be the case just last weekend, where I raced the Open. I got a time of 1 hour 3 minutes compared to my most recent Pro race where I got 1 hour and 7 minutes. The Pro race is much more muscly demanding. The heavier stations forces you to slow your pace or take small breaks between reps, where the Open is much more cardiovascularly demanding. I took like no breaks on the sleds or the wall balls, so it's quite relentless in that it's like just go, 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 and you're working at a high heart rate continuously. Interestingly, my total run time was 30 seconds slower than my last Pro race in Copenhagen. I don't know if any of you raced London, but I did find that the running track was quite not ideal. There was a lot of sharp turns and bends and stuff, so I think that kind of played a bit of a role, but my stations were where I made up the time. By the way, I'm getting all of these results from the Hyrox site, which is an amazing site to analyze your results. Big shout out to those guys. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check it out and analyze your race data. Now, as a bit of background, I wasn't actually going to do this last open race, but I got given a spare ticket and I thought I could use it as a bit of training for Nice. So it was kind of a bit last minute, and had I focused purely on this open race, I probably would have tested different paces in training and worked out what was best. I think I might have gone too hard on the stations and not hard enough on the running, but that's just me. As I said, the pro is much more muscly demanding, so particularly towards the end of the pro races, I feel I've got like heavy legs. I just don't have that pop, and I'm also a lot more sore the next day. In the open race, I found I had a lot more energy and my body felt okay. It was just kind of my heart and lungs that were holding me back. And although I like completely sold out on the wall balls and collapsed across the finish line as always, I felt okay once I'd recovered and brought my heart rate down, and I was definitely less sore this week. I returned to training pretty quickly, so you might want to think about that if you are preparing for a pro race. You might want to consider doing an open race as a bit of training. I am still more competent as a strength athlete than as a runner, so that is definitely something to bear in mind when making your decision. If you come from a strength background, and particularly if you're a bigger, heavier athlete, you could be more suited to the pro division, because the heavier weights will slow other athletes down more, and you could get away with slower running and still be somewhat competitive. If you are a lighter, smaller athlete, you may struggle in the pro race, and you may just be suited to the open weights where nothing is going to kind of stop you in your tracks, and you can use your fast running to your advantage. When training for the divisions, obviously more strength training is required for the pro division because the minimum strength requirement is higher. So it's a good idea to include some specific exercises to work on those. If you want more info on that, you can check out my other video that I've made. But you still can't neglect the running. It makes up just over 50% of the race, and the better your cardiovascular system is, the quicker you can recover from those heavy stations. Other factors that could influence your decision, I've kind of listed them out here. The track is a lot busier during the open waves, and there's a mixture of slow and fast runners that take a lot of kind of navigating around. The pro is normally less busy with not so many slow runners, but the men's races are often very late in the day. So if you don't like racing late, you might prefer to do the open. The final thing I want to discuss for those that are competitive is the qualification to the World Champs. You can qualify for the World Champs from any division, but when you race at the World Champs, it is the pro race. So that you use the pro weights at the World Champs. They give out the number of World Championship spots depending on the number of entries in that category and that age group. So the bigger competitions with more competitors, like London, give out more spots. So it's kind of up to you if you think you stand more chance placing higher in a small race or slightly lower in a big race. The issue I found is because there are more people in the open than in the pro, they give out more qualifying spots to the open racers than the pros, which is fine, but you have to remember that they both qualify for the same pro race at World Champs. So the reason that that's kind of a bit conflicting is that, well, one, like I've said, that they suit different strengths and different athletes. But also, I don't feel like you always get the right people qualified. Just as an example, Let's look at like this London race and just taking a look at the first age group, 16 to 24 in the open division. There are 9 spots, and as you can see here, Isaac got the last spot with a time of 1 hour 5 minutes 45 seconds. In the pro division, they only gave out 1 spot, so Rob, who finished second with a time of 1 hour 5 minutes 21 seconds, wouldn't get a spot unless it got rolled down. So even though he ran a faster time with heavier weights, he wouldn't get a spot. Yet I would bet that if he did race at Worlds, he would be more competitive than the 9th place finisher in the Open. Personally, in my opinion, the only fair way of doing it would be to have the Open competitors qualify for the Open World Championship and the Pro competitors qualify for a Pro World Championship. But that's just my opinion. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think the differences are between Open and Pro? Which do you prefer, and which one are you going to do next? As always, if you want any more guidance with your training, you can go to coactiveperformance.com, where I have training plans and coaching options available to you. Anything else, you can reach me on Instagram @WoodsyWorkout, where you can find plenty more tips and tricks on all things health and fitness. Until next time, peace.